Okay, so today we're going to be reviewing everything that we've been learning so far based on laws of exponents and just simplifying anything that has exponents like monomials. So for instance, on problem number 1, if you look at these two, do they look the same? Well, this one has a to the third power, b to the second power, and this one also has b to the third power, a to the third power, b to the second power. So because these two are the same, we are going to subtract them. Hold on, let me make this small. You see how it says right there we are subtracting? So it's going to be 3 minus 5. And when you do 3 minus 5 in the calculator, that gives you a -2. Okay, so the answer would be -2 and whatever they have in common, which in this case is a to the third power, b to the second power. So all we had to do was subtract the numbers if they have the same terms. So like for instance, if we look at problem number 2, this one has xy, this one has x square y, and this one has xy. Well, these two are the same. This one looks like it would go with them, but it doesn't because it has that square. So because of that square, they're not the same. So the only two things that I can combine are 5xy plus 2xy. The minus goes with this one. So you're going to keep it with that one. And over here, it has a plus in the front. That means we're going to add those two. So 5 plus 2 equals 7. So I have 7xy. And then the rest of the stuff, because there's nothing else I can do with it, you just bring it down. Okay? And that would be your final answer. Over here, it says subtract -2w from -6w. Both of them have a w, so we can combine. And it says to subtract this one from this one. So really, it's the -6w first minus -2w, because I am subtracting these two things. Okay? So it says -6 minus a -2. So if we put that in the calculator, you'll know that these two will become plus. Because minus a negative is a positive. But if you just put it like that in the calculator, it'll give you the answer. -6 minus -2. It's the same thing as -6 plus 2. Okay, you still get the same answer. That's -4w. So right here, I'm going to put -4w. Okay, all we had to do was combine like terms. All right, so problem number 4. Let's see if you remember what happens when you are multiplying. What do you do with those two, the 4 and the 3? That's right, you would add them. So it's going to equal to a to the 4th plus 3. And 4 plus 3 equals 7. Okay. The rule for this one, what do you do with the 5 and the 2? That's right, you multiply them. So you have negative x to the power of 5 times 2. 5 times 2 equals 10. What do you do with these two when you're dividing? That's right, you subtract them. So k to the 9 minus 5, which gives you 4. K to the 4th power. Make sure you're writing all of this down. You can always pause the video if I'm going too fast. Okay, so now if there are big numbers, those coefficients in the front, what do you do if the if you're multiplying. That's right, you would multiply the -5 times -3. So -5 times -3 gives you what? Gives you a positive 15. So -5 times -3 gives you a positive 15 in the front. And then what are we going to do with with those exponents? That's right, you're going to add them. So 3 plus 4 equals 7. X to the power of 7. Okay, so before we can multiply these two, we have to do that power. So it's going to be -2 to the power of 2. And I'm going to multiply these. So 2 times 2 is 4. And that's a 1, right? The exponent is a 1. So 1 times 2 is 2. Make sure you put this in the calculator, see what it gives you, because we're going to multiply it by everything inside here. Okay, so we have parentheses, -2, close parentheses, squared to the power of 2. That is a positive 4. So right here, this gives me a positive 4, right? I'm just going to cross it out because that's a 4. And then 4 times -3 gives you -12. Okay? And now all we have to do is add all the exponents. So I have 4 x's here and 1 x here. In total, I have how many x's? 5 x's. I have 2 x's here, 2 y's here, 3 y's here. How many do I have in total? That's your final answer. Okay, let's continue. 2 times 5 is 10, right? Okay, so now let's look at the exponents. Right here I have a -5 and a 2. So remember, when you are multiplying, you're going to add those exponents. So in the calculator, you would put -5 plus 2 and see how many A's you have, right? So -5 plus 2 gives me a -3. So that's A to the -3 power. And then the B's, that's 6 plus 2. 6 plus 2 equals 8. So I have 8 B's, B to the 8th power. But remember, what did I say about negative exponents? We can never have that. So what am I going to do with a negative exponent? That's right. You cancel it and you bring it to the bottom and you make it a positive, right? So let's rewrite this so that it looks a little more pretty. I have 10 on top, B to the 8th power on top, and A to the 3rd power on bottom. Done. Okay? Let's do this one. We're going to put that square to the -4. So -4, make sure you square it. And then the 4 and the 2, what do you do with those two? A power to a power, you multiply them. So 4 times 2 is 8, y to the 8th power. Put this in the calculator, what does it give you? Positive 16. Make sure that don't forget your parentheses, because if not, it's going to give you the wrong answer. Look at this. If I do this, it's going to give me a -16, and that is wrong. That is not correct. Okay, so it's a positive 16. Okay, let's do tell me what you get for this one. You would multiply 2 times 4. That's a to the 8th power. 1 times 4 is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Times 3 times 2 is 6. And that's a 1. So 3 times 1 is 3. And then at the very end, you add them all. So I only have 8 A's. So a to the 8th power. How many B's do I have? 4 plus 6 is 10. And how many C's do I have? C to the 15th power. Okay, this one, we're going to multiply. Actually, I'm just going to bring everything down to the bottom to make it look nicer. So I have 1 over, the whole thing is going to come to the bottom and make it a positive 3. So that's 6C D to the negative 1 power. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and multiply. So I'm going to distribute the power of 3 to the 6. So I have 1 over 6 to the power of 3. That's a 1. So 3 times 1 is 3. C to the 3rd power. That's a negative 1 times 3. D to the negative 3 power. Do this one in the calculator. What do you get? $216. So I can just, let me see. I'm just going to cancel this one and make it 216. And what else do you notice? This should not be there, right? So I'm going to move this up and change that to a positive. So that's D to the power of 3. And let's rewrite it to make it prettier. I have D to the 3rd power on top. If you want to put the 1 in the front, you can. At the bottom, I have 216 and C to the 3rd power. Okay, so anytime you have a negative exponent, make sure you move it to the other side. So if it's at the bottom, you're going to move it to the top. If it's at the top, you move it to the bottom. Let's do problem number 20. Problem number 20. That 4th power is going to go into everything inside. So that's going to be 3 to the 4th power on top. And we're going to figure out what that is in just a little bit. And then the rest of the stuff just gets multiplied. So 5 times 4 is 20. I have x to the 20th power on top. 3 times 4 is 12, so that's y to the 12th power on top. On bottom, 4 times 3 is 12, so x to the 12th power on bottom. And 6 times 4 is 24, y to the 24th power on bottom. Okay? So let's put that in the calculator, 3 to the 4th power, see what it gives you. To the power of 4, that's 81. So we're going to put 81 on top. And then these, you subtract them. So 20 minus 12, how many is that? 8, right? So I have x to the 8th power on top. The y's, which one has more, the top or the bottom? The bottom, right? So I'm going to be left with some at the bottom. How many? You subtract them. You're going to have 24 more at the bottom. So 12 more at the bottom. And if you don't see it, all you have to do is 12 minus 24.